I'm going to remove, actually, let's go C6. Go C6 there. I'm going to remove the number in front of the file name. So you see it's not going to create a new sheet, but it's going to create a file name as well. That file is going to get stored in our directory path for our project, and it's going to use this drawing template that's assigned to that sheet set, or that subset. I'm going to click OK, and we'll go ahead and replace that drawing that's there. I'm going to go ahead and ignore this map message that shows up. And what will happen is it's going to create a new sheet in our sheet set. It didn't open the drawing yet. It just actually created that new sheet. We're going to go down here. We're going to double click on this existing elevations drawing. You can see that it's going to open up a new sheet, and it's basically just a sheet with a title block. Now the nice thing about the sheet set, without getting into all the detail, is that all the information on the sheet, such as the file name, the location, the creator, the project number, all that information is part of the sheet set properties and automatically got filled out. So we don't ever have to worry about going and changing any of that information. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over into model space here, and I'm going to Xref in a design drawing. This is basically just some of the design information, some of the site layout information that is in the drawing. You see it's got tables and sections and stuff. We don't want all of it. All we want is the kind of the line work, the planning information that is available. I'm going to click OK to that. It's going to bring that information in. And we're going to freeze a bunch of layers to kind of dumb it down and just give us the information that we're looking for. So you can see here is our actual design. It's got our existing information, and we're actually going to, like I said, freeze this information out. So I don't need all this data, so I'm just going to go ahead and freeze off all this information, this surface data. Oops. Let's go ahead and freeze it. So we're just freezing and hiding this data that I don't want to see. Get rid of these max lines here. Okay. And we'll get rid of that data there. Alright, so I'm left with this information. Let's go ahead and freeze off a little bit more here. Let's freeze off this. Oops. Actually, we'll leave that existing pavement, turn off the label. Alright, so we're left with just the runway here that we want to see. And what we're then going to do is, while I'm here, I'm going to go into my layer manager. And I'm going to go to the Xref layer, so the layer, the data that I have Xref, this design drawing. And I'm going to right click and select all. And I'm going to change the color so that it's a shaded color in my drawing, or when it plots. So I have a pen table that I set up where pen color 141 is shaded. I'm going to shade it and drop it all to the background. This may require a regen just to kind of shade it out when you look at it. So now you can see it's shaded based on that pen setting. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use some data shortcuts. So if I scroll down in tool space under my prospector here, I've got my data shortcuts set up, my working folder path, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to reference in some of this information. I want to bring in the existing surface. Now why I didn't use the existing surface from the Xref is because I don't have the ability to control the style. I want to be able to control the color of this surface. So I'm going to create a reference of this, and I'm going to use this style of contours 1 and 5. And I just want to verify to make sure that everything is set up right. So let's go to my contour intervals. And it's actually set to 0.25, which I may want to see, but I don't in this case, so let's go ahead and change that to 0.5, and we'll click OK. So just to make sure, that should have been set up in our drawing template. That was just something that got overlooked. So again, it's ideal to make sure all this information is properly set up. So I'm going to bring that surface in. that reference of that surface, and now you'll see I've got the surface in there with the contours the way I want to see it. Now I'm just kind of arbitrarily scaling this. I'm going to set the scale of this here in a second. We're actually going to set it to a 5,000 foot scale. So using my scale piece down here, or my scale viewport, I'm going to go ahead and use that drop down, and I'm going to select 1 to 5,000, and it's going to change the scale. Like I said, it's a fairly large scale that we're using, but it gives you the idea of how you can manipulate with different scales without having to worry about changing label information. So we have our surface that's there. We next want to bring in the alignment, so I'm going to go to Tool Space, again going back to my shortcuts, and I'm going to reference in this alignment. I don't need to change anything here. I'm going to leave the style the way it is, except I am going to change that I want major and minor only. I'm going to click OK to this, and it labels all, creates all the labels in there on that alignment, but they're fairly large. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick on that, and we're going to go in and I'm going to right click and select Edit Alignment Labels. I'm going to change the increment to 100, and I'm going to set this to 50. So I've got 100 meter and 50 meter for my minor stations. So now you can see that I've got less labels, it's a little easier to read, so on and so forth. So before I scroll back out, notice one of the things I'm doing is I'm switching between model space and paper space. This will maintain that 1 to 5,000 scale of my model. I can also lock the viewport, and therefore I can zoom in and out.